What's up guys, Hownish here, and today I wanted to jump in with some new information about the Whisper of the Worm exotic, the mission that you get it from, and a few other things related to the weapon. So we're actually going to break down the fastest way to get through this mission, some shortcuts that you can take, and some tips for various ways to make this considerably easier. So stay tuned for that, but we're also going to talk about the Timegate for this mission. So this mission is going to be going away later on today. If you're watching the video on the day that it's gone live, I'll explain that in just a moment. So it's definitely worth rounding up some of this stuff. If you guys do find the video useful, a like below is very much appreciated. Also be sure to hit subscribe and turn on those notifications if you are new to the channel. But without further delay, let's jump straight into it. So before we talk about the mission itself and ways that you can get it considerably easier, Bungie have confirmed that the Whisper mission will indeed be time-gated. So Bungie tweeted, "Anomaly is closing down in 12 hours. Our calculations show that it will reopen again next week." And so that 12-hour mark actually refers to the daily reset happening today on Monday the 23rd. So that will be at 10 AM Pacific time, 6 PM here in the UK. The Anomaly or the Whisper mission will be closing and we won't actually be able to complete this until a later point in time. So if you do want to get this done before the weekly reset begins, you have just a few hours at the point that this video has gone live. Based on the timing that we saw, I would guess this is going to open up again at Friday's reset. So that'll be this week on Friday the 27th. We're pretty certain that's when the mission was actually opened up inside of D2 last week. So it seems most likely you will have to wait until Friday if you don't get this done before reset today. This is also going to affect the masterwork progress. So this week, if you have been running the heroic version, collecting chests and all of that stuff, the maximum amount of progress you can get inside of that heroic version is 36%. So we'll have to wait for the time gate to open once again to get the next 36%, much like everyone who doesn't currently have the weapon will have to wait for another chance to actually pick it up. So let me know your thoughts on that below. Cosmo have also confirmed we've seen a lot of reports of Cabal hogging all of the PE spawns on IO, and we're looking into it. This is in reference to folks complaining that they're not getting the Taken Blight public event on the Lost Oasis. And I can absolutely relate to that. You know, sometimes you'll see it a couple of times in a row in the course of 30 minutes. Other times you'll get, 3 or 4 Cabal public events in the same place. And that can end up being like 2 hours at a time until you actually get an opportunity to jump into the mission, which, especially if you're failing or finding it pretty difficult, I think is pretty brutal. It's a really cool idea. It's just not the most elegant way to do it, especially when those events aren't coming up. So Bungie are looking into it. But now let's talk about some tips for ways to make this considerably easier. So we'll talk about the jumping puzzle section first. Now, when you enter the mission initially, you will be in the Lost Sector space. And what you want to do in this area, instead of running around the entire Lost Sector, is actually use one of these rocks right here to jump straight up to where you see the Lost Sector chest. And this means you can jump into the cave where you begin the mission. So you can basically kind of springboard, from the ground up to the ledge and then up to the other ledge to go into the mission. And you're going to cut down, maybe a minute there actually running through the public event. So definitely worth doing that. Obviously, whatever class you're running, having your Stompies on, Lion Rampants, or just high mobility, even Dawnblade can be used to traverse certain areas inside of the jumping puzzle. But really, I feel like this section is all about playing around with your character, playing around with whatever you want to use, and then kind of getting that practice to make it work quickly. There are sections like this one, where if you're on a Titan, you can basically skip a good majority of all of the kind of taken boopers that are on the walls. Honestly, Titans get it pretty easy with Lion Rampants because of that skate distance. Another room that you can skip a lot in would be this one with all of the holes in the walls. If you go straight to the right side and jump just about as far as you can out onto the ledge, you're going to skip quite a lot of this, and I would also avoid even taking the time to kill the ads, especially if you can move quickly. I would just zip past them right here. Of course, when you get to the grass room, or the green room as it has been lovingly called, there's actually a jumping puzzle that you need to complete in the heroic version to get some of the chests, but you can skip the jumping puzzle if you simply want to continue on to where you actually fight enemies. And that is on the right side of the staircase right here. There'll be a little hole. If you kind of slide into there, you can drop down, head around here to the right side, and then you can basically skip all the way to where you fight enemies. So really, you want to be getting here with a good 13-14 minutes left, in my opinion. You definitely need over 10 minutes to do these last few rooms comfortably. So what is it that's going to work for you in these final few rooms? Well, the first thing to note is that you don't have to kill the taken blights that you see. These aren't required in order for you to actually progress to the next room. You simply have to clear all of the enemies. Now, of course, standing in the taken blights will cause you to take a lot of damage. However, in some of the rooms, the taken blights actually act as cover pretty effectively. If you're careful about it and you stick together as as a group, you can definitely take advantage of these being there a little bit to kind of block enemy projectiles and stuff like that. But after the first room, I definitely recommend that you push to the right-hand side of the next room as a group. Supers-wise, you can really run anything that you're comfortable with, but having an Orpheus rig tether is going to be absolutely huge in this encounter. Arc Striders as well are going to be fantastic, especially with Raid and Flux, because you can just continuously take stuff down. Stormcaller is pretty solid on the Warlock, but so is Dawnblade and Nova Bomb, depending on whether you want to use them for DPS and things like that a little bit. And really it's the same with Titans as well. I prefer to run the Sunbreaker because you can get the melee buff or the damage buff melting point. And also the hammers still do a fair amount of work in here. But we generally ran a more aggressive strategy, so even in the final boss room, we were tending to get close and personal with the bosses using Ikelos shotguns, applying melting point, popping supers on them. But you can go with a slightly safer tactic of sticking in the back and actually hitting the bosses. If you've already got the Black Spindle, then it is a fantastic DPS weapon here. A lot of people have been using Polaris Lance as well to team shot the bosses. If you get 3 of these firing the bosses with the explosion, then they can be pretty effective for taking these guys down. Another weapon to mention in general, especially for the more generic ad clearing, would be Risk Runner, because they did of course buff this thing, and when Arc Conductor is active, it will give you a lot of resilience against arc damage, but also you get that chain lightning. And even while you don't have arc shields absolutely everywhere, you will be seeing quite a bit of arc damage from Acolytes, Acolytes' eyes, boomers and stuff like that. And you can see in some of these situations I am able to just keep chaining damage and stay alive for a fair amount of time, but do bear in mind if you're running the more aggressive strategy, you are going to die. So it's all about putting out very effective damage in short windows of time and then kind of cycling back. One of the key things I would say about the encounter rooms in general is to use the caves off to the side. So in pretty much all of the rooms you will have caves on the right and left hand side. In the second room you've got the big cave kind of area on the right, and this is a really good way to kind of get some cover and slowly work through the ads. In the final boss room, the caves will also be very, very useful, or at least they've been really effective in the strategy that we've been running, using Risk Runner and weapons like that to clear the ads nearby to the cave, cycling supers, especially tethers, to generate a bunch of orbs when ads are around, and then we were pretty much being aggressive with Ikelos shotguns, planting melting point, going in, melting pointing, then dropping supers. You can absolutely do this fairly aggressively without too much difficulty as long as you stick together and are very intelligent about what you're going to use for damage, what you're going to use to clear ads, and having that solid team composition and staying aware of what is going on around you. That really is about the best advice that I could give you for the combat sections, but the important thing about getting that jumping puzzle really quick is that of course it does leave you a bunch of time for the combat sections at the end, and especially if you are having to run through this a few times to get some practice, it's definitely good to leave as much time as possible for those final rooms to kind of get your head around your strategy and how you're going to take down all of the enemies in there. And this of course will work for the normal version, it'll work for the heroic version. Also be sure that you take a look and pay attention to the burns that they'll apply to these. It does look like they're going to change week over week. But guys, I wish you the absolute best of luck. If you are a solo player, I definitely recommend you try and find some like-minded folks to actually jump in with. You know, even if you're in patrol, try and approach some of the other people that you're seeing around the space, especially if they're not in fire teams. Obviously, if you can do this solo, then that's absolutely fantastic. It's a really great achievement as well. But this exotic really is one of those go out of your way exotics, you know? It's going to take a lot of effort, so if you can find some like-minded players, I really recommend that you kind of go out your way a little bit and try and do that, because it can really pay off. Just to reiterate, Anomaly will be closing down on the weekly reset today, the 23rd of July, and it seems most likely that it's going to return on Friday's reset, so when Xur arrives. This also confirms that it's not gated or linked to the weekly flashpoint. So let me know your thoughts on any of it down below. What do you think about Bungie time gating this? What do you think about the weapon or the quest in general? If you have enjoyed this video though guys, a like below is very much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see a lot more D2 content. Check out my sponsor Gamerlink, it's actually pretty relevant right here. They've got an awesome clan and LFG app for Android and iOS. Destiny 2 is featured on the app, so you can sign up, use it to find other players for different content, raids, trials, nightfalls, whatever it may be. You can even set up your own LFG for other players trying to complete the Whisper mission, and then you can use some of the clan features to actually build persistent teams, keep in touch, plan sessions and all of that kind of stuff. Plus you can get an awesome Houndish badge for your profile on the app if you sign up using my link down below. So I absolutely recommend that you check out Gamerlink if you're looking for other gamers to play with. Those details will be down in the description, but for now, whatever you guys get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.